Yeah, one of the things that we find, so everyone has an idea what personalized video is. So it's like, it's been around for years. It typically has your name in it. And that's a clue that it's personalized.
Right.
And that's the kind of shorthand of, okay, so I've seen my name, so I know it's something special. And that's a shorthand of saying, okay, the next thing you're going to see is something that's very relevant to you.
Yeah.
That's the kind of basic way of looking at it. And you might see some data in there. You might see something that's relevant to the profile that you have or your account. But what we find is that it tends to be a lot more nuanced when you have more data in there, when you have so it sort of falls into two camps. So one is data driven, kind of not personalized, but individualized video for Facebook, for YouTube, for Instagram, and that tends to be built around interests. And it's not necessarily you'd have your name in there. You'd have something that's relevant to you. So we did a campaign for Fiat, which was it was a car commercial, Fiat 500X, and it's the car that can sort of go anywhere. It's the idea that it means lots of different things to different people. So we generated hundreds of different versions of this, and depending on the type of interests you had through Facebook, through Instagram. So if you were interested in dog walking, in the 7 seconds, that brief time you've got to tell that story, you'd see a focus on the size of the boot, and you might see a dog jumping into the boot. So everyone sees their own version of the video. And that's kind of, it broadly gets referred to as personalized video. It's sort of not personalized. It's more about relevance. It's more about things that are interesting to you. And it's kind of less creepy. That's the sort of, it's less likely to freak you out, because what you're seeing is something that's relevant, that's interesting. The flip side of that is where you do have your name in there, where you do have specifics about your own data, but it tends to be on the post-purchase side of things. So there's sort of two sides to it. There's the pre-purchase, new customer acquisition, things you might be interested in, and it's broadly personalized, but it's probably more like individualization is probably more of a correct way of positioning that. Then you've got the real sort of hardcore personalization. It's got the, hi Fergus, welcome to your new phone, welcome to your new car. And it's ways of explaining the story of your account, your relationship with a brand in a very very direct way that relates exactly to your car, the car that you've got, the color of the car, how much it cost, how much you're going to be paying for the next 3 years. So it's those kinds of things that bring to life the nature of your relationship with a brand from the outset. And that's sort of where the center of gravity is for a lot of the work we do is post-purchase, onboarding, welcoming people, things that they would typically find acceptable in an email or a letter. So it'd say, in the letter, it'd say, Dear Fergus, here's your new account. This is what it's going to cost you. And this is how it all works. And these are the things that we're finding that are typically now being translated to video. So the role of video is making this stuff more comprehensible. It's stuff that people typically have to get, but they might not read it. It might go straight in the bin. So what we're finding is that the stories that are being told in a letter, in a welcome pack, are being replicated in video. And what we're finding is that the response rate is a lot higher to video.
So that was going to be my next question then. So how is it panning out ultimately? Is it are you seeing those sort of increased engagement rates?
So there's a couple of campaigns where we've run in parallel, kind of 4 parts to it. So one part would be an email without video, generic or with the name of the person, an email that's relatively personalized with the person's data in there, an email with a video that's generic, and a personalized email with the name of the person and a personalized video in there as well. And the contrast between the engagement rates is so much higher. It's kind of stating the obvious, but the contrast between the performance of the personalized video and the personalized email is immense. So we saw like a 300% uplift on one of the campaigns that we did compared with generic. The view through rates were coming through as 86% of the people that viewed the video viewed it all the way to the end. And then another program that we had going, which was all about a bill explainer. we saw a reduction of calls to the call center by 50%. And these are things that are real tangible benefits because, you get your bill and you don't understand it, or it's higher than you thought it was going to be. And the video explains why it's higher or how the bill works. And you've understood it more and you're less likely to get confused and
do you think there's
irate.
So, I can imagine like the first time one of these comes through, there's an element of novelty in the sense that, there's this and then and I can see it, and so I watch all the way through. Yeah. Do you think, how do you see it as it moves forward? Do you think it'll become something where, there's another video there which has been personalized to me and it sort of we can become blind to it? Or, I mean, what's your understanding of that experience?
What we find is that so having your name in there is the sort of shorthand to say, oh, hang on, that's not a normal video.
Yeah.
But if we take all that away, then there's a narrative that is completely unique in that video that you're not quite aware that there are elements of it that are only bespoke to you. So the way we work is we work on overt personalization. So you see your name and your account. And then there's this a very subtle, more nuanced personalization, which is we call them alternative scenes. Yeah. And those alternative scenes are glued really together in such a way that you see something that's it's more relevant, it's more interesting, it's more actionable. Yeah. The bill explainer that we did a project for BT where there were scenarios for the customer where they would typically be getting a bill that might be higher than they thought they were going to get, and that had a different narrative. Calming them down. Don't worry, it's a one-off. It doesn't always go that way, and the narrative was different. So that's another way of looking at it. The more sort of overt stuff. Hi Fergus, here's your bill. That's all stuff that people will eventually become blind to.